Drug crime in North London is at an all-time high. Tonight, we look at the Turkish and Kurdish gangs who are fighting a vicious battle for control of the capital's lucrative heroin trade. The discovery of torture chambers and bloody shootouts on the streets make London one of Britain's toughest towns. London, crime capital of Europe. For any gang which can control its streets, the rewards are vast and worth fighting for. In this programme, we will focus on the gangs that are winning this battle, the Turks and the Kurds of North London, who control criminal activity and the supply of drugs through brutality and fear. We reveal how the gangs make their money.
These people are ruthless. They just take, murder and take.
It's all about business at the end of the day and getting money. Drugs play a big part in it.
And expose how they deal with people who get in their way.
Take him into a basement, probably chop a few fingers off.
London has a long history of organised crime.
Said to have lent it to the Krays.
In the 60s, British families like the Krays specialised in armed robbery and protection rackets, while the 90s saw the Yardies take control of the crack cocaine market. The last 5 years has seen an emergence of Eastern European criminals as the major force in London's underworld. And it's the Turkish gangs who have risen to the top.
Both MI5 and the National Criminal Intelligence Service have issued reports saying that the Turks represent the biggest threat to national security since the IRA.
They don't give a toss about the police, and they certainly don't give a toss about the judicial system. They can do prison standing on their head, and that makes them very, very dangerous and unpredictable, and not the sort of people you want to start fucking messing with.
There are believed to be 12 main Turkish gangs, formed from prominent Turkish crime families, including the Arifs and Baybashans. Hassan was a member of one of the most notorious Turkish gangs.
There's a lot of respect and honour involved with Turks. It means more than money. If I was going to take something on and I was to say, yeah, I'm going to do that, that would get done. There'd be no, you know, I'd do that. Even if I was going to die on the way, I'd do it. That's the loyalty and the honour in it. You don't think twice. If I'm going to put one in someone's nut, I'm going to put it in his nut. Not his kneecap, his nut.
This ruthless nature has helped the Turkish gangs to become leaders in their chosen field, heroin importation. They control 90% of the heroin entering the capital.
The Turks are the major importers of heroin, and that's what we're really known for.
The main operations of the Turkish gangs are based around green lanes in the borough of Haringey. Behind the many kebab shops, greengrocers and coffee houses, hundreds of kilos of heroin are stored, cut and prepared for distribution.
Behind his facade is a hard-working cafe owner in Green Lanes. 50-year-old Hari Gostas was the godfather of one of Britain's biggest drug smuggling operations.
In October 2004, Hari Gershtash was sentenced to 20 years in jail. From his Green Lanes cafe, he'd masterminded a multi-million-pound heroin operation.
There's a substantial proportion of Class A drugs, or specifically heroin, which historically has been imported in Green Lanes in Haringey.
The work's done in Haringey. You know, in the kebab shops down there, probably go down one of the basements, you'll probably find a couple of key down there. Do you know what I mean? It's a storage gaffs.
The Metropolitan Police are aware that this sort of operation is taking place on a regular basis, and they have set up a special Green Lanes task force to deal with the problem. Today, they're responding to a tip-off about a premises which they believe is involved in drug dealing.
It's a basement flat. There'll be a door immediately to your left which leads into the back of the cafe. We have only identified one possible risk, and that's a dog on the premises. We are aware of the supply of controlled drugs within Green Lanes and West Green Road. It's a Turkish-Kurdish social club. Looks like male, probably the owner.
After finding one man who claims just to be staying at the property, the police start a systematic search for drugs.
You live here sometimes, right? And what property is yours? Nothing, so you said you live here sometimes. Yes. So have you got any clothes here?
Yeah, I've got clothes there.
What, in the bags or on the rail or?
In the bags.
In the bags?
Yeah.
If you get up for me, just come to the... We're going to sit you on the stairs so we can get the dog in to have a search in the bedroom. No, not at the moment.
The sniffer dog locates areas of the flat for the police to search more thoroughly.
If you look down in there, you can smell it. I'm quite surprised a drug's dog can get it. Stick your nose down there and sniff, and then have a look through the light. There's a couple of tins and narbis just lying down at the bottom. Is there?
It has recovered a quantity of cannabis, which has been seized. A manual search is being conducted alongside that. These items will be put to the individual to see whether or not he can account for them.
The officers retrieve around £500 worth of cannabis, and the man was charged with intent to supply. On this occasion, the police failed to recover any heroin, but they know that the Turkish gangs will continue to operate in this area. Before the Turkish gangs seized control of the heroin market, the business was controlled by a large number of small-time dealers. It was organisations like Hassan's that changed the market.
Two fellas would be partners and they'd be bringing in 10, 15 kilos between themselves and they'd probably have a couple of customers. That's the way it was being done. Like 30 kilos was the biggest amount that would be imported. We came along and we brought it up to 100, 150, 200, 250. We actually brought the price of heroin down. It was going for like sometimes £27,000 a kilo. We came along, we was giving it to them at £20,000 a kilo. If you're talking £20,000 a kilo, 100 kilos is £2 million. So every 50 kilos is £1 million.
Hassan imported up to £2 million worth of heroin a month, often overseeing the final leg of the journey from France to Haringey.
And what you're best doing is loading it up in France on speedboats and just whizzing across the channel. We do it at night. If you've got a powerful boat and a good like person that knows what he's doing, you get it over within half an hour, 20 minutes, and you can pack about 100 kilos in it. You don't even have to hide it, you just stick it behind you, and then you just load it on the boot of the car. You know, it's not hard. I'd have 100 kilos in the boot of my car and it wouldn't worry me. I'd get a buzz out of it being in the boot of the car.
Hassan would then drive the heroin up to a storage facility just off Green Lanes. Turkish gangs tend not to get involved in lower-level dealing. Instead, they sell the majority of the heroin they import to other criminal organisations for distribution on the streets of London.
What you've seen developing in the last 2 or 3 years is unexpected alliances, for instance, between Turks and Jamaican gangsters. Jamaicans have seen an opportunity. They think that heroin is a good seller, it's something else to make money with. The Turks want to sell their product. They're the wholesalers bringing the stuff in from the Balkans. What that has led to has been disputes over money, over drug deals that have gone wrong for all the usual reasons that gangsters fall out with each other, where we've seen Jamaicans shooting Turks or Turks shooting Jamaicans. People get greedy in this game, do you know what I mean? And greed takes over, and then that's when shit starts hitting the fan. If you're not ruthless, if you're not stern and commanding in that sort of way, people are going to step all over you. Do you know what I mean? They're going to come and take what's yours.
5 a.m. and the residents in Clapton are woken by the sound of gunshots, and Mehmet Adigüzel was shot 6 times as he sat in his car.
Mehmet Adigüzel was a victim of one of these drug feuds between the Turkish and Yardi gangs. Mehmet was shot on Lower Clapton Road in Hackney. This area has seen 6 gang murders in recent years, all of which have been linked to drug disputes.
This is London.
One man who has seen the escalation of violence is local resident and well-known London hardman, Bill.
A young 21-year-old Kurdish boy was shot in his head just along this stretch of road here, just after the traffic lights there, in fact. This here is what they call the murder mile. There's so many, this has got the most murders in London along this strip of road here. Regular killings, yeah? 2 outside here. 1 over there. 1 in a shop down there. Down there, it's all over you. A shooting outside my shop. This fella got his brains blown out. Basically left all over my windows. There was just too much happening around here. There's just too many killings on one spot. That's the reality of it. Yeah, and when it's fresh in your face day in and day out, you have to start questioning yourself, do you really want to be around this toilet? Because that's what it is, basically. That's a very familiar sign around there. Very familiar. If it's not a copper, it's an ambulance.
In part 2, how the gangs recruit new members.
With a hammer, they broke 3 of his fingers.
And we reveal the price of defying the dealers.
Yeah, I've seen tortures, yeah. People getting tortured. It's not nice.
Turkish gangs control 90% of London's heroin market. This brings them into conflict with other foreign gangs, which has led to violence in the capital. There are also internal conflicts between Turkish gangs, which stem from a 30-year civil war back in Turkey. The country has been split by conflict between its Turkish and Kurdish populations, and this violence has also spilled out onto the streets of London.
Kurds and Turks opening up old feuds kindled at home, settling scores on a London street.
The people here, they make it a really big deal. If you're Kurdish, you wouldn't speak to a Turkish person would think a Kurdish person is bad.
The civil war in Turkey has meant many Kurds have been displaced from their homes.
Kurds were not allowed to speak their language, not even to say that you're a Kurd in Turkey.
My neighbour, the place where I used to live in Turkey, their house got burned down because they said they were Kurdish.
Once this Turkish state destroyed 3,000 Kurdish villages, around 3 million of Kurdish people were forced to migrate.
Many of the young men fleeing the civil war have sought refuge within their communities in Haringey. Some have been drawn into London's criminal underworld as the gangs look to recruit these newcomers.
The problem is, if a young man is arriving into this country and if he has no family members, no one to support him, he will just hang around because he has no right to employment.
They're looking for a better life to provide for their family back in Turkey. And it's always difficult when they come to this country. You know, it's a foreign country, they don't speak the language, they don't know the system. It's easy to just go to the cafe, they've got games to play, sit, watch TV, and then it could be that there you might meet other people who are up to no good and they might try and recruit you.
Someone will approach you and say that, oh look, are you new in this country? They'll say, yes, I'm new. Why don't you come with me? Let me offer you a dinner. Let me give you £50, let me give you £100. Have this, use it. And these people feel that they owe something to these people.
It might start off with a car, or not even that, it might start off with a nice jean or nice watch, a bit of money. And at the age of 15, 16, just say £100, £200. You know, that is a lot of money for you, isn't it?
You can be manipulated. And this is what these people do. They manipulate them by giving them these little trinkets and little gifts and whatever.
You see, what the Kurds were doing was making them youngsters feel as if they were a part of something, but they weren't, they were being used.
18-year-old Gamze Uza has grown up in North London and has seen the prominence of the Turkish gangs rise in recent years.
In the Turkish community, ask any young person, anyone would know at least 5 people that's in a gang. Everyone just wants to be in a gang. I mean, I feel bad saying Turkish Kurdish people, but it's true. They're thinking everyone's going to be scared of me, you know. I'm going to have that power. And they don't want to be just anyone. They want to be the person at the top.
Once the gangs have recruited the young members, they will use brutal methods to ensure they are fully committed to the cause. Ibrahim is a community leader in Haringey and has seen what has happened to young men who've tried to leave the gangs.
I have seen at least 4 or 5 youngsters coming into community centre with their fingers being broken. And I've asked them how it happened. They were afraid to talk about it, but one of them managed to tell us that he tried to leave the gang and with a hammer they broke 3 of his fingers. They have done a lot of bad things to these youngsters, beating them up harshly, and then they will go to visit them in the hospital to see him, said, is this enough for you? If it's not enough, we'll do it again. So the guy who, once he is discharged from the hospital, they make him join their gangs again.
Ibrahim attempted to stem the recruitment of young men into the gangs by setting up various community projects.
We become some sort of threat to the existence of those criminal organizations. They have sent signals. My car was burned down in front of my family house. Then there was a threatening call coming up saying that if you do not give up what you are doing in this community, we will kill you. If they want to harm us, they can harm us because they know where I live, they know where I study, they know where I work, they know where I go in terms of community centre.
A few months later, Ibrahim came face to face with members of the gang as he walked to his community centre.
But when I get there, I realize that it's the same gangs who are threatening me with life.
Realizing his life was in danger, Ibrahim tried to escape, but the gang followed him.
We bumped into 2 men who was, I think, coming behind us so that they can catch us from the back. And immediately, one of them ordered the other one to shoot. He said, shoot, shoot, shoot. And he shot me right from here. I said, what's going to happen now? What if I got killed? What if I die? Or what if I leave? What would happen?
The gang left Ibrahim for dead, but after months of recovery, he returned to his work in the community. Despite Ibrahim's brave efforts, the gangs continue to recruit young men. They need the youngsters to work the extortion rackets on the Turkish shop owners in the Green Lanes area. Their extortion rackets spread fear and violence among their own communities.
The protection, as a young kid, that would be one of the first things you do. I had friends that were actually doing the work themselves, and they were at the time 16, 17. So yeah, they're getting young kids to do the dirty work, basically.
These gangs went into a cafe shop in Green Lanes, and they said, this is our cafe shop now. And they went into another shop saying that you got to give us the money. And they smashed the shop because the guy refused to pay them.
Some people actually start off with the women and children to get the money. Yeah, they'll make a threat to them, you know, they'll make a threat to the man saying that, listen, wife and kids. The second one will probably be another threat, and the third one, something can happen. The third one, it usually does happen, to be honest with you.
I mean, they're trying to do the extortion from as many people as they can so that they can oppress people of our community, so they can rule the community.
It does affect people because your own people is doing this to you.
Surveys by the police have revealed that more than half of the Turkish and Kurdish shopkeepers in London have been forced to pay protection. However, the police have found it difficult to prosecute these gangs because the shopkeepers are too scared to take action against them. Bill has been a resident of the area for 15 years. He has become friends with many Turkish shopkeepers and has seen firsthand how they are extorted.
I just tell you straight, you will deliver so much money at such and such a time when we come back here. You know, that's the bottom line of it. You have to pay. Now, this is my friend's shop here, was my friend's shop. And he was a nice man, he was a humble man, you know, but unfortunately, he was subjected to this type of pressure. Obviously, they watch you, they watch the kind of car you're driving, you know, get all the information about you they can. And then they will come and give you a visit. A shop like that, you'll be looking at $3,000 as a donation. It's not a one-off, that's for life. Yeah, as long as your business is there, you will have to be making them payments. It's not going to be a good career move for you to say no, because you'll end up losing everything.
If a shopkeeper does refuse to pay, they will face retribution. But the extremes the gangs will go to was only revealed when the police made a chilling discovery. In October 2003, police from the crack SO19 division prepared to raid an innocent-looking terraced house on Green Lanes.
The level of shock which those officers saw and the horror which confronted them when they walked in there had an effect not only on myself but also on my team who were around me.
Journalist Elton Halil joined them on the raid.
And I remember seeing playing cards lying around the stairs as if they'd interrupted the game. And I remember getting to the top of the stairs. It was like a musty, squalid room. They had to cut a hole through the wall. When we got into the room, it was very sinister looking. There were these two hooks.
They were hanging people with their hands, and they were torturing people if they refused to pay them.
This was a horrific premises. There was ropes, there was all sorts of machetes. Everything had been used to torture and extort money from innocent people.
There's so many gangs out there, there's so many groups out there, there can't be one torture chamber. There's loads, and everyone's got their own method of torturing people.
Yeah, I've seen tortures, yeah. People getting tortured. It's not nice, do you know what I mean? You're not going to kill him, are you? Because you're not going to get the money back. So you take him into a basement, probably chop a few fingers off, chop an ear off or something, send him home. Imagine what his missus is going to feel like when she sees him. And how belittled he's going to feel. Probably get the money back. That's not what he's done.
The violence associated with extortion rackets is carried out away from the public eye. However, the gang's heroin operations often require a more overt show of strength. And with new foreign criminals entering London's heroin market, the Turkish gangs have been forced onto the streets of the capital to defend their territory.
In the end, there's a limit on how much heroin you can sell, and the point is there are still more and more people trying to move into that trade. That puts a squeeze on the business. Quite recently, very close to Wood Green Police Station, there was a gun battle fought on the street.
The shootout was between Turkish and Albanian gangs fighting for control of the heroin market.
When the police turned up, of course, a number of people ran, weapons were dropped on the street. There's estimates going between 12 and 30 rounds were fired in that altercation. It was like the OK Corral. There were bullets flying all over the place in that particular incident.
And only the bravery of the young officers from Wood Green who ran to the sound of the shots meant that we recovered firearms left smoking on the ground.
I think you can expect to see more of that in the future because there are more and more gangs vying for the same territory.
I can't see the foreseeable future if it's going to get any better. It can only get worse.
The Yardis, the Colombians, the Kosovans and the Albanians and the Russians are trying to move in on the heroin. I believe it's going to get a lot more violent than it is.
As the battle to control London's lucrative heroin market intensifies, the capital is braced for more violence, and London will remain one of Britain's toughest towns.